We married in '66, and this would be the year 1975. So about 9 years, and she said to me, Eric, why don't you say I love you more often? My idea at the time, I said, well, if I say it to you every day, I love you, I love you, I love you, it's really not going to mean anything eventually, because it'd be like saying, good morning, how are you, I love you. It's just the way I was thinking at the time, although I have no difficulty saying I love you now. It doesn't make a difference. But the more I thought about it, I thought, how can I say that to somebody but mean it, but not say those words to say I'm not in love? And immediately I thought, well, the best way to say it was, I'm not in love with you, but here are all the reasons why I am totally infatuated by you, still love you. So once I had that idea in my mind, I wrote the verses very, very quickly. I wrote all the verses down, very simple. Initially 2 guitars and very simple arpeggios, we call them. But when you put that on an electric piano, it's a very, very different thing. If I can... You see, what happens on an electric piano, the way I write, is that you have the bass hand as well. So you have a melodic hand here, like this. The bass is there on the left hand. It's like that. So that's much more interesting for me to write on a piano, because I'm writing the bass as well at the same time, and sometimes the melody with the right hand. A guitar is good for rhythm if you're trying to get a feel for the track. So coupling the two together, this simple rhythm guitar and the Fender Rhodes sound, I think was part of the magic of that song too.
But the version of the song, the record that everyone knows, was not the first. That was not the first version that we recorded. When it was first written, it was done in more of a kind of samba rhythm, and we recorded it like that, and it didn't work at all. We knew it wasn't right, and unfortunately, we used to erase everything that we didn't like, so there was no record of anything that was bad around, and but it would have been interesting to hear that again.
Don't forget it. It's just a silly phase I'm going through. And just because I call you up, don't get me wrong, don't think you've got it made. Not enough, no, no. It's because I'd like to see you, but then again, it doesn't mean that much
You wait a long time. I'm not in love, so don't forget.
It's just a silly phase I'm going through. Oh, yes, it is.
And just because I call you up,
Don't get me wrong. Don't think you've got it made.
I'm not in love.
No,
I'm not in love.
I'm not in love, baby. No, no. It's just because. It's all because we stand worlds apart.
And eventually, I think it was Kevin that came up with the idea to do it in this different rhythm, which was much slower and moodier. And we talked about how we were going to record it, and I think it was Lol had the idea that we should do it with voices. Should be a lot of voices on it. And I think that the original idea was that we would do it completely with voices and no instruments at all.
Just going, for 3 weeks. Because each note had to be recorded with just 3 people singing. As I said, there are 13 notes on a chromatic scale, and we had a 16-track machine, so we recorded the same note on 16 tracks to make one note. So 3 times 16, I've not got a calculator, but to do this. And then that note was then copied from the 16-track machine onto a stereo machine, and the stereo machine I then made a loop of the stereo machine.
Well, I remember particularly one of the big vocal R's, and we made this loop of tape, and we had it going through 2 tape machines, and then it went round in the control room, and at one corner there was Kevin holding a cymbal stand, so the tape's going around that. Lol was in the middle, I was at the other end holding another cymbal, and we were trying to keep the tension, and Eric was at the 2 machines. No, Eric was at the desk. I think Lol was at the 2 machine, and he kept saying, no, it's tighter, and we were moving back and forth. Crazy. This big loop going round, and that was doing that
So that we didn't have the edit going through quickly, where it would go each time the edit hit. So on a long loop you had for a long time without this little blip, and you didn't hear it. But once that was recorded, we had to do it 13 times, for each note of a chromatic scale on a piano. And it took a long time. Then we had to take the risk to mix all those notes down to 2 tracks of the multi-track machine. And once we'd done that, I had to erase all these voices on the 16-track machine, so they were gone forever. So it was a risk, and we had to get it right. And it took 4 of us at the control desk to move the faders to change the chords of the song each time that the chord changed. One of us we each had 2 chords to change. 2 of us on this side, 2 of us on the back of the controllers. We're all moving like this. Those sort of things. That took a long time to get right. As I said, once we got it right, I had to erase all those loops of the voices.